Good morning, Patrick here, coming to you live from Complete Health. I just wanted to jump on and talk a little bit about diet and nutrition and a little bit what I do. And so I took the plunge roughly 4 years ago, I think it was about 4 years ago now, to turn my diet completely plant-based, which essentially, I don't like to use the word vegan. However, most people obviously understand a plant-based diet is vegan. I'm not perfect when it comes to stuff like leather shoes and belts and stuff like that. I don't check every single label of all products and stuff that I buy. Stuff like my car has got leather and stuff in it. So, I mean, truly by the definition, if I spoke to a true vegan, they would probably get a little bit upset about me using the term vegan, but my diet is plant-based. And the reason why I actually chose to do this, and people think I'm nuts, by the way, the number of people I talk to that think it's near impossible to eat a completely plant-based diet is unbelievable. They think it's difficult, they think there's too many boundaries, they couldn't give up. The one that always, I couldn't give up cheese. Of course you could. You're choosing not to. Anybody can do whatever they want to do. If you wanted to become a vegetarian, you could do that tomorrow. If you're a smoker and you wanted to give up smoking, you could give it up tomorrow. If you're a non-exerciser and you want to do exercise, you could do that tomorrow. There is absolutely zero reason other than yourself telling yourself that you cannot do it is the only reason why you cannot make those changes. But the really nice thing about being either a vegetarian or a vegan or a paleo, or it doesn't really matter what it is, keto, it doesn't matter what the diet is. What it does is it sets some context, some boundaries and some guidelines so that you can govern yourself and kind of give yourself a little bit of rules and boundaries so you don't just constantly go through red lights. Now, what I basically mean by that is, for example, an average day you might eat your cereal in the morning, you might have your sandwich for lunch, and you may have whatever it is you have for dinner. And every so often you'll have that kind of cheat meal where you have the Domino's pizza, which is way over your calories. And as a result, you kind of go, I've gone through the red light, so I may as well do X. Now, really interesting, when you have like a kind of set routine or diet or restriction that you go around, what ends up happening is you set yourself some context. So when you make a mistake, it's much easier to get yourself back onto your rules, and you've got yourself a guidance. It's almost like the dietary requirements are your policeman to stop yourself from taking the mick out of your diet. Now, interestingly enough, if you look at statistics on being a vegetarian, being a vegan, and being a meat eater, on average, a vegetarian will live 7 years longer than a meat eater, and a vegan will on average live 10 years longer than a meat eater. And really the pure reason for this is the types of food that we're putting into our body. Meat is obviously much higher in fats, cholesterols. It's got antibodies the antibiotics for which they feed to cattle to grow meat faster. It's infected, it's grain fed nowadays. It's not pasture fed, they're not fed on grass. So the fats and oils that you get in meat are now much more dangerous than they ever used to be. And the thing is as well, is we're also eating vastly higher quantities of meat than we ever used to. And what we're actually seeing is an increase in diabetes, heart disease and cancer in this country. It's not going down, it's going up. And some of the biggest things that we've seen change in this country in that time that diabetes, cancer and these other chronic conditions are going up are things like our meat consumption, and we're reducing the amount of fruit and veg that we're eating, and we're getting into the sun less, and we're doing less exercise, and we're starting to see these increases. So no, being a vegetarian or a vegan is not difficult. It's only as difficult as you make it. And if you're a little bit inventive and creative, it's super, super easy. But some of the benefits are increased antioxidant intake and vitamin intake, your mineral intake, increased levels of fiber, lowered cholesterol, lowered fat intake. Yes, it's a slightly lower protein intake. You just have to eat a variety of different foods, and you can easily hit all of your micronutrients and macronutrients. Anyone that says you cannot get protein from a plant-based diet is lying to you. How do you think the rhinoceros and the hippopotamus got so big? Because you've never seen a rhinoceros or a hippopotamus eating steak. Same again with an elephant. None of these huge land animals, gorillas, they're all vegetarians. Yet they're some of the biggest and strongest animals on the planet, and the majority of the biggest and strongest animals on the planet, guess what? They're all vegetarians. So just some context, we could save our planet, we could save ourselves, we could improve our health. And by the way, I'm not saying you have to give up meat, but if you thought about trying to give it up a couple of days a week and just seeing what kind of health benefits it has to your waistline, to your cholesterol, to your blood pressure, you might be pleasantly surprised. And if you haven't seen the documentary, I don't know whether it's still on Netflix, there was a documentary called Game Changers, where they took blood tests of people that were eating a vegetarian, a meat eater, and then a vegan diet, and then they did their blood cholesterols an hour and then several days after their meals, or the day after their meals, and the results were staggering as to how much cholesterol was on people's bloods in the meat, the dairy, and then the complete dairy-free and meat-free. The results were staggering. So check it out, because you think I'm lying. They will actually spin the blood in front of you and show you how much fat gets into your blood when you eat meat. Till tomorrow, I'll speak to you soon. Patrick here from Complete Health. If you've got any questions, please comment below. We'll speak to you soon.